Welcome to the Brian Craig Show podcast. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. The Brian Craig Show is brought to you by Tom Laporta at Laporta Contracting and Roofing. If you're in the state of Florida and you need roof repair or replacement, get in touch with Tom Laporta online at laportaroofing.com. All right, we got a lot to cover on the podcast, so stay tuned. We got a lot. What do they say on Fox all the time? We have lots to unpack here. That's what Harris Faulkner says all that. I hate that expression. I just voted early for President Trump today. Kathy would take you over the weekend to vote. And it was a very bittersweet thing to do because it's the last time that I'll be able to vote for Donald Trump for president. He's going to win, and that's exciting, but we're not going to be able to vote for Donald Trump again. We may vote for another Trump in the future, but it's the last time we're going to get to vote for him. And if
it is bittersweet.
Yeah. If you include the primaries, this is the sixth time I voted for Donald Trump, right? Third presidential election, the three primaries, and the early voting location here in Florida was very, very busy. I had to wait in line. I waited in line about 15 minutes, which is a long time for early voting in Florida. It's usually you just walk right in and vote. And Florida's MAGA country, so I'm not concerned at all. We're going to win, but it is that bittersweet. I don't know if I've ever had kind of a bittersweet experience before. I don't know if I've had that, but this was definitely bittersweet. I mean, because you're excited, but it's sad at the same time.
I think when Emily moved to LA, that was kind of bittersweet because it was like.
No, that was just sad. I don't know.
No, but I was happy for her that she was moving out and going on with her life. She was like 23 at the time, and so it's like I was sad but happy at the same time. Like I'd miss her, but I'm like happy she's getting out of the house and moving on and growing up and things like that. So
when we vote here in Florida, it was electronic, and they had a new electronic.
Oh, really?
It was different than we've had before.
I've always voted with a paper.
Yeah, it was not. I mean, you could ask for a paper ballot if you wanted. I did the electronic because I wanted to see how it works, and I know I'll hear all kinds of things from people on that, but. This was a different, at least it seemed to me to be a different machine and different screen and everything than we've had before. Mm-hmm. And it actually, after I voted for everything, it actually let me go through it again and double check and approve it before it submitted it, which was nice. And,
you got to make sure you do that.
Absolutely. But now things are going well. Things could not go better. Be going better than they are now for President Trump. Okay, so over the last week or two, the Democrats and the fake news media have been trying to get these false narratives going, and every one of them has fizzled. Steve and I were talking on the radio this morning about some of them. There's a new one today since I got off the radio. Oh, by the way, I made a video of my early voting. So if you go to my YouTube channel, you can see my vlog of me voting early. Okay, it's up there now. I came home, edited the video, and put it on YouTube right before we did the podcast. We were talking about some, and then they got a new one that they tried to start this afternoon that's still going on. And I'll play the whole thing, the different sound bites. We'll talk about it. But every single one of them that they've tried has fizzled. And they fizzled because, number one, they've got nothing on Trump. They've been going after him for 10 years now. So they've got nothing left, and they're the boy that cried wolf 1,001 times.
People are so tired of it.
Nobody even hears what they're saying anymore.
They just tune it out because it's like every day.
Yeah.
They just, next. They just, know, it's like, what else are you going to say about this guy?
It's insane. So last night, President Trump had this spectacular town hall with Tucker Carlson.
Yes.
That had like 1 million people showed up. But I saw the crowd. It was like a Trump rally sized crowd. It was an indoor venue, and every seat was filled. It was massive. So when you think of a town hall, you think kind of like a small, intimate thing. This was like a Trump rally with Trump sitting down being interviewed by Tucker in the middle of a Trump rally. And it was very, very good. And he was talking about Liz Cheney. Liz Cheney and I'll play you the clip of President Trump, and then we'll play some of the things that have been going on in the fake news media today. But Liz Cheney, who of course she's the daughter of a war criminal. Everything she has is from her father's war crimes, lying about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. And J.D. Vance, he did a town hall yesterday with Charlie Kirk, and Charlie Kirk uploaded it on his podcast. I listened to some of it today. It was at a college. And J.D. Vance said, we traded Liz Cheney for Bobby Kennedy and Tulsi Gabbard. It was a pretty good trade. There was a second Democrat that they got, or a second Republican they got. I can't remember the other one that he mentioned.
Oh, Kinzinger.
Yeah, and I didn't mention Kinzinger. Oh. But anyway, I can't remember. But it was a good trade. We got Tulsi, we got Bobby Kennedy, and they got Liz Cheney. So she's a warmonger. Her father's a warmonger and war criminal. She's in with the military-industrial complex. Yes. And so President Trump's talking to Tucker Carlson about that.
And I don't blame him for sticking with his daughter, but his daughter is a very dumb individual, very dumb.
Good training.
She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained in her face. You know, they're all war hawks when they're sitting in Washington in a nice building saying, oh, gee, let's send 10,000 troops right into the mouth of the enemy. But she's a stupid person.
Yeah, okay, yeah, but she's a stupid. Okay, and what he said was perfect. There was no problem with it, and he was saying it's easy to be a war hawk when you are not going and you're sending other people.
Exactly.
And
meanwhile,
that's true.
Real quick,
it's called a chicken hawk is what it's called.
By the way, during that time, the liberals, the Democrats, said the same thing about her father, that he was a war hawk, he was a war criminal.
Yeah.
They thought they wanted him and Bush to be arrested and put in jail for starting a war.
They wanted to send them to Europe to be tried at the Hague's World Court on war crimes.
I mean, it's crazy, you know, how quickly they forget. Young people might not know all that, but you do a little reading up on the Iraq War.
And so CNN and all the rest, and MSNBC, they've been talking all day. I'll play you a couple clips of this. The first one is CNN. You guys heard what President Trump told Tucker. He said it's easy to be a war hawk when you're not going.
That's right.
And what they've turned that into in the liberal media, and it's fizzling out, but they're trying to get this false narrative going, is that President Trump wants Liz Cheney executed. In fact, it's right now as I'm speaking, by the time you're listening, it may not be there, but the Drudge Report has it as the lead story. Trump wants Liz Cheney executed. And that's not what he said at all.
So ridiculous.
So this is CNN talking about what Trump said to Tucker.
I don't think you even need to call it fired upon. He's saying quite explicitly and unambiguously that Liz Cheney should be shot, should be executed by firing squad.
Oh, God.
4 days out
ridiculous.
From Election Day, and former President Donald Trump is escalating his violent rhetoric, suggesting one of his most prominent critics, former Congresswoman Liz Cheney, should be fired upon.
Your reaction to what Donald Trump said about Liz Cheney?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, it was completely inappropriate, dangerous, and unbecoming of a leader. Mr. Trump was literally going after someone who doesn't agree with him. So it shouldn't be a surprise when people come on TV and feel the need to agree with him.
There's 9 barrels. When he says 9 barrels shooting at her, that obviously evokes images of a firing squad.
Oh, my goodness.
It evokes images of an execution.
Let's execute a political opponent who happens to be a woman because I don't like her. And, does that pull more low propensity voters in his coalition to the polls? I honestly don't think so.
And I don't blame him for sticking with his daughter, but his daughter is a very dumb individual, very dumb. She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained in her face. You know, they're all war hawks when they're sitting in Washington in a nice building saying, oh, gee, let's send 10,000 troops right into the mouth of the enemy.
Now, you know, so the question is, do they realize that they're lying, or do they just get into this rhetoric?
I love how they take what he said and completely reword it.
Well, they leave out
he
the
never
context.
said firing squad. He never said anything. They completely reword what he said and rewrite it, just like the White House rewrites what Biden says. They reword it, rewrite it, put it in a nice little package and present it to you. This is why it's so important, guys. I say this all the time, to watch the original source yourself. This is a prime example. You saw it with 60 Minutes. Trump is suing CBS, by the way, for what they did. You saw it with 60 Minutes. You see it all the time. You're seeing it now. They take what he originally said, they take it out of context, and not only do they do that, they rewrite it, they reword it, and they say it in a different way than what he said it. Instead of quoting him exactly, they say they're the ones who are saying a firing squad, not him.
Yesterday, they were trying to get this thing. President Trump said he's going to protect women from being raped and murdered by these illegal prison gangs from Venezuela, whether women like it or not. And then they've turned that into him saying that he's going to protect women from abortion, whether they like it or not. You know, this morning
they twisted it. Waltz's wife said he's going to do what he wants to women, whether they like it. I mean, they're insinuating that he's going to attack or violently go after women, whether they. I mean, it's crazy how they hear things.
Everything with the left and the media is lies. A guy called me on the radio today, a Democrat. He called me today, and he was very surprised what I said to him. Called in. You may have heard this call if you're listening this morning. He says, Trump's too old. You know their thing, he's too old, right? You know, this ageism. They're like on Logan's Run. Once you're 30, these they want you out.
That's all right, you're done.
Yeah, your palm's right. But they said he's too old in that garbage truck. Did you see he could hardly get up in it? He almost fell out of it. And I said, none of that was true. And he said it again. And I said, I saw him get in the garbage truck in his slippery dress shoes, in his suit pants, and his shirt and tie with the vest. Right. He had no problem.
Yeah, those dress shoes are very slippery.
And I told the guy, I said, "What you didn't even see it. What you did is you heard the joke that President Trump told at the rally that if he said the step was 3 feet high, if I slipped when I got up there, they'd be saying I'm too old and I'm not fit." He didn't have any difficulty getting up. He was joking about if he did, and you took that joke and you've turned it into this lie. Now, this next clip, listen to this, Kathy.
They are floundering.
They're in a panic.
They're like when you catch a fish and you put it on the dock and it's flipping and flopping. It's a fish out of water. That they're just floundering and they're lost and they are panicked. And they're grabbing for whatever they can grab, and they're just flat out lying to people like they always do.
Absolutely. So this is MSNBC. They're talking about this thing that Trump said with Tucker that I played, right? And the Attorney General of Arizona is talking about investigating Trump and maybe charging him with a felony for what he said about Liz Cheney. Listen, this is
let him.
Is this nuts? This is MSNBC today.
They are nuts.
That's crazy.
And Bram Resnick, the political anchor and reporter from our NBC affiliate in Phoenix, KPNX, joins us. Talk about this breaking news regarding Donald Trump's comments that he made about Liz Cheney in Arizona last night. The Attorney General is responding.
Oh, my God.
That's right.
So
I just spoke to Attorney General Chris Mays about 2 hours ago for the taping of my Sunday show. She told me she just gotten off the phone with her criminal division chief, and she was investigating whether what Donald Trump said about Liz Cheney constituted a death threat under Arizona law. I'll tell you, under Arizona law, it is illegal to make threats or intimidate someone. Can be charged as a Class 1 misdemeanor, Class 6 felony. Chris Mays told me they're looking into it. I asked her whether this was just political speech, free speech. She said we're checking to see if it crossed that line. But she also put it in the larger perspective. If you're here right now, you begin to understand how this place is ready for a high security event on Tuesday, an election. Our sheriff's office is talking about a no tolerance policy for protests. Chris Mays is activating all her agents. Every law enforcement agency in the state is involved with protecting the vote, protecting voters. So that's Chris Mays brought that into the conversation, that for Donald Trump to make these kinds of remarks at this time, such a really fraught and tense moment here in Maricopa County is just bad.
Okay, this local reporter in Maricopa County is the worst kind of fake journalist you can have. So Trump got shot in the head. They tried to shoot him again. There's Iranian assassination squads throughout America trying to get to him, but he's the threat. And this local reporter, he says, keep voters safe. Zero tolerance for they've turned Arizona into East Germany in the 50s here. I almost feel sorry for these liberals. Their minds are mush. I almost feel sorry.
They're just
I feel sorry.
It's pure desperation.
Yeah.
And they have got to be the most frustrated people on the planet because every time they think they got him, I mean, aren't they tired? Aren't they tired and worn out by now? Don't they realize that this guy is not who they want to think he is or who they try to portray him to be? And the people we knew all along, and you guys, but people that bought into this, most of them, are finally waking up and realizing that they've been lied to about this man. And so anytime they say these things and it escalated, like I said, they took his words and they're the ones who made it threatening. He didn't do that. They did it. They're the ones who mentioned firing squad. He never said those words. They're the ones escalating things. Let him go after him. It'll go nowhere. Just another dead end like everything else, because that's what keeps them alive. That's what keeps them going. That's what helps them sleep at night, because they're pathetic. And this guy lives rent-free in their brain. All they do is think about him. Like when Steve Garvey, who I wish would win the Senate race.
Everybody tells me it's hopeless for Garvey.
When he said to Adam Schiff, he said, you wake up every day thinking about one person from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed. And all your energy and focus is on destroying one person. And he said, I wish you thought about your people that voted for you, or thought about California, or how you can. They're obsessed. They're obsessed with Donald Trump, and they just are so desperate. But you know what? It is so past the close, for lack of a better phrase, for these people. I think when they tried to kill him, I think that was a major, major turning point for people. Not only endorsements, like even Hulk Hogan said, I had to endorse him after that. I had to do it. These people came out of the Trump closet that they were so afraid to say anything. Look at that Zachary Levi. Even Mark Zuckerberg, who said, that was amazing that he survived that and this and that. That to me was a turning point for a lot of people. Because they were like, this guy doesn't deserve this.
That's why we got Bobby Kennedy.
This is crazy.
Trump got shot.
Yeah, exactly. Bobby Kennedy. It was a turning point for people. So, and they see Trump now having a good time, laughing. The garbage thing was like the most epic thing I've ever seen when he was in the garbage truck. That was and I got to tell you, we didn't give out candy last night because it was raining here, and we just didn't do it. But I saw a lot of people on TikTok and X and everything. I cannot tell you how many kids and families went out dressed as Trump. They even I saw some high school kids go out, and one guy was dressed as Biden, and he had like 6 of his friends dressed as Secret Service, and they were helping him walk up the stairs. They're like, funny. It's okay, sir. And then he climbed one stair, and they all started clapping. Good for you. It was the funniest thing.
That's hilarious.
Trump owns Halloween. And then I saw one video where a dad was dressed as Trump, and there were 12 kids around him dressed as the Secret Service.
Yeah.
It was the cutest thing ever. And all these people on social media were posting all these kids. I would love to know how many kids dressed as Donald Trump last night. If somebody did that you gave candy to, let us know in the comments.
I saw one guy who was dressed as Donald Trump working at McDonald's, in the McDonald's.
How many people wore a garbage thing? Don Jr. dressed literally as trash. He wore a garbage bag, and then he covered himself in like hot glued trash all over it to take his kids trick-or-treating. And then his daughter, I think she was wearing a sanitation uniform from Mar-a-Lago. Like she had the official uniform. Like it was pretty funny.
A lot of people I've seen on social media, they're voting early and they're wearing trash bags to go and vote.
Yes. I mean, I just would love to know how many kids dressed up as Trump. I bet a lot of kids dressed up as Trump last night.
This Donald Trump has always been popular, but he's never been this popular.
He's so popular.
He's more popular now than ever for a whole bunch of reasons. The lawfare, that's a big part of it. Yeah. Being shot, the second assassin, everything, the economy, the border, the crime. It's a combination of a lot of things. But, the country is so behind him. Yes. You look at the early voting numbers, right? Early voting around the country, the Republican early voting is at a record high. Democrat early voting is at a historic low. And a couple things about that. Not everyone who's a Democrat is voting for Kamala. A lot of them are voting, like my mother's a registered Democrat, and she voted for Trump. A lot of the early voting Democrats are voting for Trump. And by the way, my mother voted Democrat. I mean, she's voted Democrat her whole life. She voted for Trump.
My brother this
is the first time my mother
that's amazing.
Has ever voted for a Republican in her life. And how old is my mother? 70?
Yeah.
How old am I?
You're 53.
I'm like Biden. She's 72. She's 72. My mom's 19 years older than me. So think about that. My mother is 72 years old. And for the first time in her life, she voted Republican. She voted for Trump. I didn't ask her how she voted on the other things, but she voted for Trump. And my mother doesn't like Trump.
Well, and neither my mom, she likes Trump, but she doesn't love Trump like we do.
Yeah.
But she likes Trump. She voted for him. She's a Republican. She voted for him early. So did her husband. But my brother, who loves Rachel Maddow, he's a big liberal. We don't discuss politics. He put in a write-in candidate. So I said, I have zero problem with that.
That's like voting for Trump.
He wouldn't tell me who it was.
I was embarrassed.
But he wrote in somebody, and I said, well, that's pretty much wasting your vote, I believe. I think you got, like Dennis Quaid said, you got two people, pick a side. You write in somebody, you might as well not even bother. I mean, I don't see the point of that. That's just a waste of time. And I think if you're going to vote, you need to pick one or the other, Trump or Kamala. That's it. I mean, writing in somebody, I don't understand it. I don't get it. And you're not moving anything. You're not affecting anything. But he wrote in a name. He didn't vote for Kamala, which was interesting to me because he doesn't like Trump, but he didn't vote for her either. So I wonder how many people that are Democrats will do the same thing. Because she is so unlikable and stupid.
Everyone in our family has voted for Trump except one person, Kathy's brother, right? And he is the only one in the family who doesn't have a job.
That's right. Well, I don't have a job, but I'm disabled, so I have a reason why. But I used to work.
And our parents are retired. They worked all their lives.
Yeah, they're retired.
But,
my stepmother is a poll worker. My stepmother.
You have a job. It's taking care of me.
That's true. My stepmother is she's more MAGA than Brian, if you can believe
she's a poll watcher.
She volunteers. She lives in Martin County. She volunteers with the local Republican group. She is a poll worker. She's hardcore Trump, and she and I talk about it all the time. And she's there watching like a hawk. Believe me, she's really into it.
We have a new sponsor joining us here on the Brian Craig Show podcast. One that a lot of you know, that is with me on the radio, Dr. Appleton with the laser wave pain treatment, and
that's exciting.
He's joining the show as a sponsor today. This is his first day. And, Dr. Appleton, he's been with us on the radio for a couple of years. He rid me of pain for the 6th time with his laser wave pain treatment from my left shoulder injury. He fixed my right shoulder a few months ago. Now he fixed my left shoulder. Yep. He rid me of arthritis in my finger. And, the finger that I had arthritis in is the finger I have to use for the dump button at the radio station when someone uses like the F word.
You complained about that finger since we met. Mm-hmm. You've had that problem since you were in your 20s.
Yeah, it's from the dump button.
I don't know why, but my index finger always hurts. And then you went to him, one treatment, no more pain ever.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
That's
after 20 years.
Yeah, and my knee was hurting me since I was about 20,
That's
21.
True. Same thing.
And so 6 times he's rid me of pain. Dr. Appleton, his laser wave pain treatment, it works. It works on every type of pain that I have ever heard of. Every time I go and see him, I meet 3 or 4 listeners that are in there getting treatment done. The laser wave pain treatment is 100% painless. There's no shots, no injections. I know shots and injections are the same thing, but, there's no downtime. And the best part is it works. Appointments are not necessary with Dr. Appleton, even on Saturdays. He's located in Pompano here in Florida, but, we have had listeners travel from around America to see Dr. Appleton.
If you've had a doctor that has told you you need surgery, please see Dr. Appleton first.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Before the surgery.
Go see him first. And I'm telling you, I've seen it with Brian and people in my family. His treatment works.
It does. He performs all the treatments himself. We had one listener fly into town for a couple of days so they could have the treatment. One lady took a train from New York to Florida. Took a train. She couldn't hardly walk, and both of them their pain is gone. Give Dr. Appleton a call and say bye-bye to your pain too. 954-973-0710 is his number. 954-973-0710. That's 954-973-0710. And online, AppletonChiro.com. All right, we're going to take our first break. There's much more to talk about. Don't go anywhere. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll be right back.
Feeling uncertain about this election? Choosing the right candidate from local races to the presidency can be overwhelming, but there's a resource to make it easier. Introducing Practical Psychology for Success, The Election. Available on Amazon. This essential book breaks down what matters most in selecting leaders: empathy, authenticity, and a genuine commitment to public interest or welfare. With a comprehensive evaluation table, Practical Psychology for Success, The Election helps you assess candidates for local offices, Congress, and the presidency using 7 key criteria and 12 competency categories, complete with a point system so you can make informed decisions when electing government officials, including the President of the United States. This easy-to-use guide empowers you to choose leaders who are equipped to make a positive impact. Get Practical Psychology for Success, The Election today, and vote with confidence. Available now on Amazon in both paperback and Kindle. Are you curious or just plain nosy? From author Sarah Tercel comes the book, The Fairy Godmother, the correspondence of the child serial killer Amy Fitzgerald. Available online at books.by/Sarah-Tercel. That's by B-Y. When you read The Fairy Godmother, you'll find letters from a twisted mind. A fairy godmother whose stories are anything but magical. She turns children into fairy tales, her own dark versions of them. Prepare yourself for a grim, chilling journey through Amy Fitzgerald's letters, where dreams don't always end happily, and every story has a price. The Fairy Godmother, the correspondence of the child serial killer Amy Fitzgerald, from author Sarah Tercel. Order your copy right now online at books.by/Sarah-Tercel. That's by, spelled B-Y, Tercel, T-E-R-C-E-L. Books.by/Sarah-Tercel. This book makes a great addition to your book club. Books.by/Sarah-Tercel. Order your copy right now.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. You know, I just saw on YouTube somebody left me a comment, why'd I wait so long to vote early? I still voted early. It's Friday. Mm-hmm. Election day is Tuesday. I voted early. The reason I put it off is what I was talking about in the last segment. It was so bittersweet. I wanted to hold off on doing it as long as I could because it's the last time we get to vote for Donald Trump.
You're kind of busy, too.
That's true. That's true. That's true, just a little bit. So Tim Walz was talking today, and he called Elon Musk gay. Listen.
If you're a billionaire, Elon Musk, for example, say, that gay got it. Michigan knows that word.
Did you hear that? That gay guy.
And then what does he mean by Michigan knows that word?
Gay? I don't know what he means. I have no idea what that means.
These two are just a train wreck.
Aren't they?
They're just a train wreck.
You know, this...
I mean, they really are. I don't understand anybody.
Did you see Elon Musk's mother on Fox?
Yes. She's a very classy lady.
But she was making fun of the way Kamala talks. It was pretty funny.
It was funny.
It was hilarious.
She's very nice looking. She's very well put together.
Yeah.
And she has a very lovely accent. And I saw that clip, and it was very funny. And it's so funny. Mark Cuban, who's so irrelevant, but Trump said Mark Cuban, he tweeted that Mark Cuban used to call him every day when he was president.
What a weirdo, like a stalker.
Begging to, he said, Mark, I don't have time for you. Click.
I'm president.
That's why he hates him. But he's so desperate to be Trump. He's so jealous. He wants the love and the adoration. He's never going to get it because he's not Trump. And, He said that Trump surrounds himself with stupid women. Really? But Kamala's smart? I mean, he is campaigning for probably the dumbest politician that has ever been in politics. But he's saying that Trump surrounds himself with stupid people, stupid women. I mean, what a dumb thing to say.
Well, today the Kamala Harris
it's so
campaign,
untrue.
The Kamala Harris campaign, this is being widely reported. This is not a joke. The Kamala Harris's campaign contacted Mark Cuban and asked him to stop speaking for them.
Well, yeah, because he is not helping her. He is not helping her. And the thing with Kamala is, I don't watch her rallies. I just can't. But I see clips, okay?
I can't watch that.
And what you have to realize about her is she repeats herself over and over again because she's trying to remember her script. And she absolutely cannot think in the moment.
No.
I think she panics, for one thing. I don't think she's very bright, but I think she panics, and she cannot handle hecklers. She has a lot of hecklers, which is very kind of surprising to me. That's something you don't normally see in Democrat rallies. Traditionally, they're like, remember when Trump first ran, there was like a heckler in every crowd, and he would just say, "Go home to mommy." She gets a heckler or a group of people, and she absolutely cannot handle it. I am speaking. Nobody wants to hear that or watch her lose her temper. But she just speaks in a way I've never seen anybody speak before. And I've said this before. She uses a lot of transitional phrases, and she will repeat the same word like 5 or 6 times in like a 2-minute stretch.
Oh, yeah.
It is the most bizarre, and I don't understand why that is. And then I realize that she's just dumb.
Yes.
I mean, that's just all it is.
No, that's it.
She's just a dumb woman. I hate to say that.
She had this happen yesterday.
She's just stupid.
The teleprompter must have clicked off or something, and she was repeating herself like on a loop.
She was waiting for the teleprompter to start
to catch up or something.
That's why if you see her at a rally repeat, she kept saying the same line over and over. And you could see she's looking to the right towards the teleprompter, waiting. And she said the same line. That is why she repeats herself so much, because she's waiting for the teleprompter, or she's trying to remember what she's been told to say. She literally cannot think on her own. I mean, I have never seen a politician that bad. They always can find something to say.
Well, yes.
You know what I mean? I mean, George Bush wasn't a genius, but he could always find something to talk about.
President Trump has a teleprompter, but he doesn't use it that much. And mainly, I think what he uses the teleprompter for is to get everybody's name when he that's in the crowd that he has to do shout-outs for. That's the main thing he uses the teleprompter for, so he doesn't leave anybody out. But when her teleprompter isn't working or is too slow, she doesn't know what to say. She can't fill.
No, I mean,
she can't do any filling at all.
Is she like this? Does she talk? This is what I really want to know. Does she talk this way in normal conversation? Like you see her do interviews, and she finishes an interview, and she makes no sense of what she says at all. Like you leave the conversation like, did I just have a stroke?
Well, Kathy,
or is this just a stupid
in
person?
Her private life, she doesn't
talk like this to her husband.
No. In her private life, she doesn't talk about serious things. So she talks about whatever I don't know what she's really interested in.
Well, she laughs a lot.
But I'll tell you about Kamala.
To me, she's got like the brain of a 15-year-old stupid kid.
The thing about Kamala, and I think this is very true about Kamala, this is beyond just like a part. Obviously, I don't like Democrats, okay? So, But we really don't know anything about Kamala.
No, that's a big problem. Less than we knew about Hillary.
Yeah, we don't know anything about what her personality is like, her real personality. I mean, we don't know what she does. We don't know how she spends her free time. We don't know. You know some very surface things. Oh, she was attorney general. She was a senator.
She likes to cook vegetables in her bathtub.
we know she dated Willie Brown, who was a married man and all that, but we really don't know her, and that is part of the problem.
Yeah.
Now, President Trump was out and about, and he commented to reporters about this Liz Cheney thing. So let me share this. They're really trying to get this going, the left.
She kills people. She wanted to, even in my administration, she was pushing that we go to war with everybody. And I said, if you ever gave her a rifle and let her do the fighting, if you ever do that, she wouldn't be doing too well, I will tell you right now. But she's a war hawk who wants to go kill people unnecessarily. And if she had to do it herself and she had to face the consequences of battle, she wouldn't be doing it. So it's easy for her to talk, but she wouldn't be doing it.
Okay, now this is an important thing. Okay, this thing with Liz Cheney, the Democrats and the media keep doing these things that help Trump. Like yesterday, when Mark Cuban said that thing about women, the internet just blew up with women around Trump who were beautiful and very smart, like Alina Habba and so.
They're so stupid.
Okay, now this thing with Liz Cheney that the fake news and the Democrats tried to start today. That comment President Trump made was in Dearborn, Michigan. He was meeting with Muslims in Dearborn.
Right.
And I didn't realize until today what was going on, okay? The Muslims have been, in Michigan, which are a big block in Michigan, the Muslims have been backing Trump over Kamala.
Yep.
And I couldn't understand it until this Liz Cheney thing today. Because you watch the news and you see all these Muslims at like New York, NYU and all this stuff, and they're for the Democrats. And now I realize, okay, Liz Cheney's war criminal father, who lied about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, caused the entire Middle East over 20 years ago now to erupt in total war. And I don't know how many people's lives have been destroyed and lost because of Dick Cheney lying about weapons of mass destruction. But American Muslims are pissed off at the Cheneys over this 20-plus year war that Dick Cheney got started over the WMD lies. And and Liz Cheney going to Kamala Harris has driven those Muslims in Michigan to Trump. And Michigan's a battleground state. And with the Muslims backing Trump in Michigan, Trump's got Michigan.
That's why he mentioned her name last night, because he knew he'd be in Dearborn today.
He knew exactly. He's always five steps ahead.
He knew what he was doing. And also the guy who owned the restaurant today where Trump went gave Trump a plaque of peace. He was a Muslim guy. He said, we support Trump because we want the wars to end. We want peace in the Middle East. Yeah. And he said Liz Cheney and her father started a war, and it's maligned our people, and we want people to understand that we don't want violence. So they're upset at her because of the war, the destabilization. This is a surprising thing to me, and it's good to see.
That is.
And because the discrimination they've been facing because of and people seeing them in the wrong light because of what her father did. And that they've been villainized because of that war. And they're upset about it. So, because I was wondering, why did he start talking about Liz Cheney last night all of a sudden? Because he never really talks about her. And then when I saw him at that cafe today, I said, well, this is why. Because he got the news. He knows that when he says things like that, the news is going to jump on it. It's going to jump on it. And he knows that. He's playing them like a fiddle. He's learned so much in the last 10 years, even more than he knew before. He knows if I say something about her, they're going to jump on it. And I'm going to Dearborn tomorrow. They hate her guts there. This is only going to help me in this state. And he's right. There's a huge Muslim population in Michigan, especially Dearborn. And he's going to win Michigan because of this. But the media is so blinded by their Trump hate, they don't realize they're helping him. They've always been helping him. They've helped him all along. They're so stupid.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, it really shows how smart Trump is that he would set everything up at the town hall in Arizona. So when he was last night, so when he visits Michigan today, the media would be all over it, and it helps him. He is so smart. And, you know, President Trump, on one of the interviews he did, which one? I think it was the Joe Rogan interview last week. He said when he first got elected, he didn't know anything. He really didn't know about politics. He didn't know people in Washington. And he said the president has to hire 10,000 people. He says you have to hire about 1,000 to 2,000 directly, and then they delegate and hire a total of 10,000.
Right.
And he said, I didn't know anybody in Washington. I didn't know who was good, who was bad, who I should hire, who wasn't, and all this stuff. Now he knows.
He has a fantastic team.
They're perfect
around him now. He has surrounded himself with true, like Scott Pressler. He's got him. He wasn't working directly with him. Now he's working directly with the Trump campaign. He's got Lara Trump on there. He's got Elon. He's got people that are aligned with him that truly, truly want to help him win. There's nobody working against him, it seems. They are so on top of, he's got Kash Patel, he's got Lewandowski, all these people on his team now. And I'm glad he didn't bring in Kellyanne Conway.
I don't trust her.
She helped him win the first time. I mean, he really did it, but she ran a good campaign. But his campaign now is so different than before the last two. It really is. He has really gone after the young people. If you go on TikTok, I'm telling you, it is so MAGA. There's all kinds of trends. They even have a Trump face that you can superimpose over your own.
Mm-hmm.
They have all kinds of songs, so much stuff. It is so MAGA now. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's all in all the young people. They love the guy. He's like a hero to them. Really, it's amazing. I've never seen anything like it. And that's a lot to do with Logan Paul and Vaughn and all these young guys he's been talking to, Aiden Ross and all these that Barron's been telling him to work
Well, you know,
with.
this town hall that I was talking about, when I got off the air this morning, I had to go on a long drive from the radio station. I had to go to a meeting from the radio station. It was about an hour just to get there of a drive. So, and I was listening to this town hall that Charlie Kirk did at this college with J.D. Vance. And I don't know what the college was. I don't remember what the college was. But J.D. was taking questions from the college students. And they're all Gen Z. Gen Z is very conservative. They are very conservative. The millennials are lost, except for J.D.
Yeah, and you notice that's a lot to do with Charlie Kirk. And Charlie Kirk is doing a lot of these campus things in the battleground states. They're really, after the last election, they are hyper focused on just 7 states,
well,
7 states, and Charlie Kirk's doing the same thing. He's having his campus things in Arizona, Nevada,
this is very important,
Pennsylvania.
okay, because the Democrats' election strategy is based on mainly a lot of things, but there's 2 things in particular, you know. Well, 3. One's the unions, which the union members all endorse Trump. Doesn't matter what the leadership says, you know, that's just a couple people. The other one, you know, is the early voting. The Democrats are getting creamed on the early voting. And the third one is the college kids. And the college kids, they're Gen Z now, and they are so conservative. And I was listening, I was more interested in their questions than JD's answers. His answers were very good and all, but their questions kind of gives you a feeling of the pulse of Gen Z, the angry. And a lot of them are concerned about going to war with China and maybe getting drafted.
Yeah, for sure.
And Charlie Kirk pointed something out. He said the Gen Z, the college graduates of this year, next year, Gen Z is the first generation of Americans since President Washington that is worse off than their parents' generation. First one. I
believe it.
Because how bad the economy is. And they, you know, they're the first generation where home ownership is out of reach. You know, I was talking I've mentioned this a couple times. I've mentioned this many times that, you know, Kathy and I bought our house just over 20 years ago. We bought it the week of our daughter's 5th birthday. I remember it was we moved into the house the week after she turned 5.
Yeah.
Okay. And so we've been here just over 20 years, going on 20 and a half years. We could not afford to move on our street now. A guy a couple houses down bought a Porsche that cost about as much as this house cost when we bought it.
In fact, a house sold in here, I won't say the price.
Oh my goodness.
Because I get things in the mail. A house our size, we do not have a big house.
No, tiny house.
Okay, we have a 1,200 square foot house.
Yeah.
A house our size in this neighborhood sold for about 2.5 times what we paid for our house.
That's insane.
So you're right about that. The housing prices are crazy.
So these college kids, they're like graduating college, and the idea of owning a home is not even on. It's not even within reach. This one girl, she's graduating and she has a job opportunity in New York City, and JD said, take a job somewhere else. Don't take a job in New York City until we come in. It's too dangerous right now.
I heard somebody say, I can't remember who, some financial person.
That's scary.
Said that the Democrats don't want you to own a home. They want renters.
Correct.
They want people, they don't want you to excel or succeed. Like, look at the jobs report. They added 40,000 government jobs. This is what they want. They lost 28,000 private sector jobs. They are not for small business. Kamala could tell you that all day long. They want big government. That is what they want. Everybody working for the government, loyal to the government. They love the government, dependent on the government, living in government housing. You know, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, she's a local representative down here. You guys know who she is.
Yeah, Democrat.
She actually made the case, which I've heard many Democrats, that we need to have illegals to pick crops. You know, I am sorry. Democrats have always loved importing people.
Slaves.
To work, to
they
pick crops.
Slaves. They want slaves.
I mean, what is it with these people that they like importing people to work for a less than decent wage?
That's right.
That is their argument, that we want to bring in people that we can pay $10 an hour to pick fruit. I mean, they have been importing people to pick crops since the country started here. They're the ones who did it. They're the ones who owned the plantations and had slave breeding and sold them to other plantations, and this imported people and all this. It's crazy that they're still saying this, and people don't see that as a problem.
Well,
that's sickening.
Debbie Wasserman Schultz, she's pretty entrenched, but she's got a guy running against her who I interviewed, actually.
Yeah, he was good.
He's a retired general. He's running against her, Republican, and he holds a city commission seat in a very large city in the district, and he's gotten more votes for his city commission victory than anyone else has ever received in that city for city commission.
I would love to see her lose.
He's got an actual chance of beating her, and I hope that he does, because I can't stand Debbie Wasserman. Oh, I want to tell you guys, I got a call today, if you guys were listening on the radio, from a pastor who was hit by Hurricane Milton, and he called Tom Laporta at Laporta Contracting and Roofing, Pastor Trevor.
Oh, yeah, Pastor Trevor.
He called on the air today. And he lives in Vero Beach, Florida. So if you're in Florida and you need roof replacement or repair for any type of roof, by the way, for any type of structure, you want to call Tom Laporta at Laporta Contracting and Roofing. He called him, and Tom Laporta and his crew were at his house the next day.
Amazing.
Working at the house the next day doing work. The response time of Tom Laporta's crew and Tom Laporta is almost as fast as first responders after hurricanes. They're very fast. And, you know, when you have to get roof work done, you know, you go through your insurance company. Tom Laporta is not just a roofer. He's a general contractor. And in the state of Florida, since he's a general contractor, he is allowed under Florida law to deal directly with your insurance company on the cost of the roof replacement or repair. It speeds things up a lot. It really does. It gets the work done. It gets the work paid for faster, moves the thing along very fast. So give Tom Laporta a call. This number is to his cell phone, and only our listeners get the cell phone number, okay? If you go to the website, the cell phone number is not on the website, but he does give it out to our listeners. His website is laportaroofing.com, laportaroofing.com. But his cell phone number for Tom Laporta, he's a good MAGA guy. He'll never sell you a roof you do not need, is 954-604-4602. 954-604-4602. For Tom Laporta at Laporta Contracting and Roofing. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll take a quick break and be right back.
From author D.D. Bergquist comes your next must-read book, Somewhere Beyond the Sea, Two Hearts Bound and Torn by the Forces of Nature. Available on Amazon. In Somewhere Beyond the Sea, you'll experience a breathtaking love story filled with adventure and fueled by a passion for nature. Meet Liz. She's an American animal rights journalist. She travels to Japan to expose the truth about dolphins in captivity. There, she meets Kato. He's a Japanese dolphin trainer with his own mission. Though worlds apart, their shared love for dolphins breaks through cultural barriers, and together they stand against the forces of greed, risking everything to protect the creatures they cherish. But when a tsunami strikes, Liz and Kato must choose between their ideals, each other, and the lives of thousands. If you love romance, adventure, and unforgettable stories of courage, Somewhere Beyond the Sea is perfect for you. Available right now on Amazon in both Kindle and paperback. Somewhere Beyond the Sea, Two Hearts Bound and Torn by the Forces of Nature, from author D.D. Bergquist on Amazon. How would you like to brighten up someone's day? Then check out theluxexpress.etsy.com. That's Lux, spelled L-U-X-X. The Lux Express specialize in hilarious mugs, cups, t-shirts, totes, beach bags, wine tumblers, wall art, and so much more. The Lux Express are all about making the world a happier place, and they're doing it one smile at a time. Whether you're in the mood for a good laugh, a little motivation, or some inspiration, they have something for everyone. They also accept custom orders, so you can create that perfect gift. And make sure to stop by for your holiday shopping too. Use the promo code Brian and save 15% off your order. TheLuxExpress.etsy.com. That's Lux, L-U-X-X. Funny, motivational, and inspirational products. TheLuxExpress.etsy.com. Mike Lindell is offering wholesale pricing for Christmas. The standard MyPillow, just $14.88. They've never been offered this low before. That's right, just $14.88, and free shipping on orders over $75. So go to MyPillow.com right now and use our promo code Kane at checkout, K-A-N-E, and get the standard MyPillow for just $14.88, the lowest price ever. You can also order by phone, 1-800-716-4879, 1-800-716-4879. Promo code Kane.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We were just watching during the break President Trump speaking in Michigan, and he's got all the Muslim leaders there. And the auto guys and the Jews.
It's amazing.
You know,
and Democrats. And Democrats are there.
Donald Trump is the great unifier. Think about this. He's in Michigan. He has a bunch of
he's got Bobby Kennedy.
Union auto workers. Yeah, he's got a Kennedy, a Democrat. He's got the Jews and he's got the Muslims. That talk about a unifier,
and they're all on the same page.
What he was talking about. President Trump is so smart. He went through this very detailed explanation of Liz Cheney and her father's war crimes in the military-industrial complex, and he was talking about what we were talking about earlier in the podcast about how many millions of their lives have been destroyed or lost because of her father, all for money, all for profit, because he's got a company that profits from the war.
Exactly.
And if Daddy's making money, Lizzie's making money too, right? You know, so. And he knows what a big deal this is in Michigan among the Muslims.
Yes.
And, you know, President Trump, you know, this is a rally, but if you notice the rallies that he's doing in this campaign, as opposed the last campaign, he had a lot going on, right, guys? But so I kind of make the comparisons between this and the first campaign. The rallies that he's doing now, like what he's doing right now in Michigan, are it's a big rally like all the rallies, but the messaging is very on local issues, like he's talking to the Muslims, because he knows that tomorrow all the local news in Michigan, local TV, newspapers, websites, everything, is going to be about what he said about Liz Cheney and the Muslims in
That's exactly
and Michigan
why
hate
he brought
the Cheneys.
her up. That's exactly.
He's so smart.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw him today, like I said, I realized this was so perfectly done, and the media is so stupid because they're like rabid dogs, and they just want to jump on anything they can. They can't see the forest for the trees. They're so far down that hole, they can't see the sunshine anymore. They don't know what they're even doing at this point. They're like on autopilot. You know what I mean? Orange man bad. That's all they're thinking. They don't have perspective. They don't have any, and they're all thinking alike. And they don't have anybody that's smart enough to say, you know what? He's baiting us. And we're taking the bait. That's exactly what he did. He played them like a fiddle. He got them to talk about Liz Cheney all day long. How many Muslims want to? And then he met with this guy in Dearborn who owned a business, a Muslim guy who said, we're supporting Trump. He's had Muslim mayors. I mean, this is a surprising endorsement. Meanwhile, Kamala has people protesting her that are defending Gaza, that are protesting all of her rallies because they're not doing anything to stop this war, and Trump's going to stop it. And he's going to bring peace.
The thing with Trump in Michigan, his strategy is mostly a battleground state strategy, which is very good.
Yes.
There's exceptions, but it's mostly that. He hasn't been in Florida that much. He's done some things here in Florida. The New York thing is not a swing state, but the symbolism was important. But what you've seen Trump do, like they brought in Liz Cheney into the Kamala campaign, like somehow that was supposed to turn Republicans against Trump.
They don't know what they're doing.
They had this garbage thing with the comedian last Saturday and you see how he takes these things that they're trying to use against him and turns them into his advantage.
Well, and he's got a good team because the garbage truck idea wasn't his idea. He said his team came up with that idea, but he approved it. He has got a team like Vivek, Cash. These are smart people with him that are just on his side and really know how to play everything to their advantage. They're very sharp. Now, you know what I mean? They come up with ideas on the fly. He said that they came up with the garbage thing. He said they got that in 30 minutes.
Now, one thing,
because it happened,
Now, one thing, too, that's going on, there was a story I saw on Fox. I wanted to share this with you guys. What happened in Springfield, Ohio is not an isolated event. Kamala Harris, they've been moving thousands, tens of thousands of the illegals that they're colonizing America with into these small towns. This is a story about a small town called Logansport, Indiana. I've never heard of Logansport, Indiana, but this is Fox News. Listen.
Thousands of migrants are settling in the town of Logansport, Indiana, and residents are struggling to handle the surge. The New York Post reports that students have been pushed out of the city's schools because the county's population has exploded. Let's bring in Candace Espinosa. She is a mother from Logansport who's unhappy with the influx of migrants to her community. Candace, good to sit down and talk with you. Appreciate it. So the population of Cass County, where Logansport is located, was 38,000. But it's now grown by some 30% with a lot of predominantly Haitian migrants who have moved in, a lot of them hoping to find work at the local Tyson chicken processing plant. What has the effect been, in your mind, to the community?
It's just overrun. We don't have space for everybody, so the housing has been taken over and our schools have been taken over. Pretty much the whole town has been taken over.
I mean, in terms of the schools being taken over, the population of Haitian immigrant students in 2021 was 14. That number has now grown to 207, and there's a lot of complaints.
Okay, so it goes on. So there's 30% of the town now are the Haitian illegals that they brought in. What happens in these small towns, the local officials sell out. They buy them off, okay? But they overrun the town's resources, right? They don't have enough schools, space. They don't have enough police. They don't have enough fire. They don't have enough resources. There's not enough housing. And this is happening all over America. And it's a story that we hear this story. We hear about Springfield, but it's happening all over the country. And it's not really being reported that much. Every once in a while, a story like that will come out. This replacement theory that Tucker Carlson started talking about a while back, it's true. That we're being colonized by the illegals, and it's being done to us by our own government right now.
You know what I'm wondering? Because I'm wondering why they choose very small towns. Like this town had a population of just under 19,000. That's a small town. I mean, you know how
Mhm.
many people live where I live? Where in our city where we live, like a million.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, maybe pretty close.
But we're in a metropolis, so millions.
Right. I mean, we're in South Florida. It's very
It's a
populated
metropolis.
here. But, you know, these are very, very
They
small
do, Kathy.
towns.
They do it for a couple reasons. The
Quite a theory. So,
oh well, I'll tell you mine. You tell me yours. They're isolated, so they don't have So a lot of people don't notice because these small towns, there's no media or anything. The other thing is it's easier to buy off the local officials. I think to put up with them. What do you think?
my theory is, and I could be wrong, I think it's purely racial. Most of these small towns up north are predominantly Caucasian.
Yeah.
Indiana, Ohio, maybe not Ohio as much. Indiana, though, the town is 70% white and the rest is Hispanic.
Yeah.
There's very little black people there. I think that this fits into their whole thing with Tucker of diminishing the white race. I mean, I really think that's what that's
The
part of it.
Obamas,
And I'm not
yeah.
into racial things. I'm really not. I have a black daughter, okay? It's not a thing with me, but I think it's a legitimate theory that Tucker presented and other people have talked about, and I think they're hand-picking certain towns that are predominantly Caucasian to upset the balance or change the demographics of these cities, also to get people to change, to either bankrupt the town or, I don't know, they have nefarious reasons why they're choosing.
Well, they're trying to turn some.
I think it's a multitude of reasons.
There are many. There's not one reason. That's correct.
It's like they're targeting these poor people.
They're trying to make some red places blue.
I think you're right, though. Like they're small towns, but I don't know if it's a small town. It's going to be more pronounced. So I don't know if your theory about them being
nobody
remote
knows what
makes
happens
sense
there
because they can blend in better if they dumped them in our city.
No.
You wouldn't notice as much,
you
but
would.
in a town of 18,000 predominantly
you
white
would.
people, you're going to notice.
No, you would notice in a big city like ours. If like here in Florida, around Lake Okeechobee, there's a bunch of small towns, right? Moorhaven, Okeechobee, those kind of towns, Kathy. If they move 10,000 Haitians to those towns, 20,000, 30,000, we wouldn't even know it unless it was on the news and they told us. Because nobody goes to those towns. Everybody goes to the big cities, and it would be out there. And people in big cities wouldn't put up with that crap. These small town America has a lot of low-income people in them, and poor people that are poor and isolated, have a hard time getting the word out. Something like this happened in our town, it'd be all over the news. There'd be a lot of people like me putting videos of it on YouTube. In these small towns, it's easier to hide too. But
There's
notice
a much higher impact on these small towns.
Well, you heard too. There's a Tyson chicken plant there. So one of the reasons too is low cost labor.
They made a deal.
These
the Tyson people made a deal with the government officials to bring them in so they could hire them cheap.
Yeah, maybe.
Probably.
And yeah,
that's what they're doing. They're importing slave labor, basically.
That's exactly right.
Democrats have always done that.
That's what the Jim Crow laws was about.
Yeah.
They would the Democrats in Jim Crow, what they would do is they would jail black men on like loitering charges and things, and they would do 90 days, 6 months, or a year in the county jail, and they would have them working in a lumber plant or a factory or a dairy or do slave labor. So yeah, a lot of it is about a lot of reasons.
Well, that must be
cheap
why. So
labor, turning red states blue,
and that's what. So they want you to think
nothing good
that these people are coming in to pick crops. Well, now they're coming in and working in a chicken factory, which would be a job that an American would typically have. But they're making deals with these companies now to get people in that'll work for minimum wage, where you have you know what I mean? But don't worry, eventually they'll become part of the union.
Well, listen,
become the same problem for them.
Trump's coming back, and all these people are going to be deported, and the border's going to be closed, and it's all going to be solved. So there's nothing to worry about, Kathy. There really isn't.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're importing
with
like
Trump
cheap
winning.
labor. I mean, it's just that's what they did during the time of antebellum.
It's slave labor, but they're paid. They're just paid very little. And if you go to these cities where they do this, these towns, because I've been through some of these small towns that have these things, like when my father lives in Okeechobee, Florida, and and when I was young, I spent a lot of time in that area, and they have a lot of these factory-like things, dairies and places that produce food. It is horrific, the conditions people live in these farm towns, like where they, like around that work in the sugarcane fields and stuff in Florida. They live like in army barracks, whole families. It's definitely not. It's much worse than people think. Now, I want to take a moment to thank our Patreon supporters. Thank you so much, guys. If you would like to become a Patreon supporter, there's a link in the description of this and every episode. All Patreon supporters have access to commercial-free editions of all of our podcast episodes, and our top Patreon supporters get a live on-air thank you on each and every podcast. So the names you'll hear now are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, ETW, Chuck, D, Pamela, Rick, Nick, Wesley, Macho, Mike P, Carlos, Paulette, John, K-Mac, Richard, Maria in Texas, Alice, Heather, David, LeeZep, Shawna, Constance, George, Brandon, Rob and Trish Wilkerson, Christy R, and John S. These are our top Patreon supporters. Thank you so much. And again, there's a link to our Patreon page in the description of all of our episodes. Well, that's all the time we have for today. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, and we will talk to you next time.